Namaste everyone. This is M. Srinivasu, English faculty from DAV High School Architect Township. I am heartily welcoming you all for 10th reading comprehension interaction of class 9th English Unit 1 with A reading with the title called The Snake and the Mirror. At first, I would like to read the lines before we get into the explanation part of it. Suddenly, there was a dull thud as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. Surely nothing to worry about. Even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wiggled over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. The snake's landing and my turning were simultaneous. I didn't jump, I didn't tremble, I didn't cry out. There was no time to do any such thing. The snake slithered along my shoulder and coiled around my left arm. Above the elbow, the hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches from my face. Before we start this line, let us have a recapitulation of the previous session. In the previous session, we have seen the doctor, Humour, was not feeling convenient to have a sleep there. So he walked outside a bit and he lit a BD and he had a thought that he wanted to marry a woman doctor and that woman doctor should have a good medical practice. She should be very rich and she must be fat for a reason because he said if any wrong that he committed and he needed to run away, that time she should not run after him and catch him, were the thoughts. With such thoughts, he was sitting again, he resumed again on the chair at the table in front of the mirror. And at that time, there were no sounds from the above. It was the last lines that we identified. There was no sound. What are those sounds? Those sounds are the sounds of the rats. They are moving on the roof somewhere on the gables and making a lot of noise. That there was no sound. So now further we look into it. Suddenly there was a dull thud as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. Suddenly what happened in that particular occasion? There was no noise of rats. And suddenly what happened? There was a dull thud. Thud means, for example, when you are walking on a wet day and you slipped your feet and you landed on the mud with a thud sound, or any like a rubber tube, you are taking up to some extent of height and dropping it down. So what is the sound that generally it makes? So that is what called thud sound. It is not a heavy thud but a dull thud, not that much resounded. Light, when we fall sliding in on the wet floor, generally it will be great thud, but this is a very dull thud, not great one. So low voice. So there was a thud sound, that means so falling sound of something to the ground, or maybe somewhere he identified. This usage you see, as if usage. As if usage is one of the grammar points we are going to discuss in the upcoming grammar sessions, and but it is a very typical usage. For example, I would like to give you whenever you wanted to, you are not really that person, but you give a pose of that person. No, that time this as if usage is given. For example, he behaves as if he is the owner of the theatre. In this expression, the man actually is not owner of the theatre, but he gives a pose that he is the owner of the theatre. So such cases, in the contrast cases, we generally use as if usage. So you keep this one in the mind. In the further grammar sessions, we look into this particular usage, right? So as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. So how is that one? There was a dull thud, and before that there was no sound from the above. And that sound, how did he feel? It was like a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. So it may be like a similar comparison. Like rubber tube will be long and then with some size of a snake generally we see. So it may be a similar comparison. So that is how we can identify that the doctor thought this particular tube maybe the sound may be how it is looking like it is looking like a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. For example, when you are throwing a rubber tube to somewhere else from one distance to another, and that time what is the kind of a thud sound generally come, and that kind of a sound maybe he thought, and how is that a tube then? That tube had fallen to the ground from somewhere, maybe from first floor you are throwing it down onto the ground. So how does generally it make a sound? Such kind of a sound you would like to talk about. Now, surely nothing to worry about. He is very, very comfortable. Very sure. We need not to worry. Why did he not worry, or why did he not think much worry about? Do you know what is it? Generally there are rats moving on the gables in the house, and maybe one or two are fighting, or one is chasing the other, or maybe out of their hasty run, they may skip and sometimes they fall down. That may be the third sound he thought. So there is no worry. It is a regular phenomenon to him. So he thought need not to take a look at it. But even so, though he know very well, this is a common sound. Maybe the rats fall down when they are running or catching or chasing. But he thought that he wanted to have a look there. So that's why you see, even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. So what the doctor thought, though he know very well it may be the sound of the rat. Maybe a rat may fell, a mouse fell from the roof. But here, though it might be, he thought, sometimes our sixth sense works. And it may tell you, you just observe it, not that, maybe something else. So he thought to have a look. So he thought he would turn around and take a look. So what he had a thought in his mind, he wanted to turn to the particular area where the sound is coming from and wanted to see what is that sound really is. So that is what the point correctly here. So before you identify, there was a dull thud then, and then he never worried about it, and he thought it's a sound like a rubber tube falling onto the ground, and he need not worry because it's a regular phenomena where the mouse moving and then may fall to the ground. But even so, he wanted to turn around. He wanted to see completely, not feeling or glancing at. He wanted to turn his body completely or head and wanted to see what is the particular sound or what is actually the practice. Right? Now coming to the next one. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair. So what did he say? No sooner. No, this is a usage. No sooner than. And you also have as soon as. No sooner than. Scarcely when. Hardly when. We generally come across this kind of a connection of maybe you can say conventions used to connect the sentences, or this kind of usage are very important point in the upcoming grammar sessions. Okay, no problem. Now we deal it and we try to look into this particular usage more detailed in the upcoming grammar sessions. Now, no sooner had I turned. So what happened? He just turned that side. Then there is a slight difference between then. Right? Then means it's a representation of time. So I went home. Then I saw my father. This is then. Timing. It tells about time at that time. Then it representing later, next. What happened? So I no sooner he had turned, then next what happened? So it tells about the second event, following event. So it tells about next. So please make sure about these two words usage in our regular conversation or regular comprehension or regular understanding. Right. Coming to this. So no sooner had I turned than means immediately. What happened? A fat snake wiggled over the back of the chair. So what happened? A fat snake. It's not like very medium and unscary. This may be very fat. He was described. It is very fat. Maybe it is completely strong muscled, very active, and that may be the snake. Fat snake wiggled over the back of the chair. It means maybe moving on, climbing on, adjusted itself on the back of the chair and made its seat comfortable on the back of the chair. You might have seen the setting of the earlier scene where the narrator was sitting, doctor was sitting. He was sitting on the chair at the table in front of the mirror, right? So now the snake fell. There was a thud sound come, and then he wanted to turn. When he turned, naturally, immediately what happened? A fat snake wiggled over the back of the chair. That was a wooden chair. Imagine it. And then there was a chair. This particular snake was landed, came onto the back of the chair. So it was generally we rest back. No? We take a little rest our back. So there particular one a supporting point there is a wooden. So there it has taken point. Now and landed on my shoulder. So when it fell, he wanted to turn a look. As soon as he turned a look there, and it crept on his shoulder. So it has taken support, and then it again crept on his shoulder, and was now you see what is the distance from our face to the shoulder. It is just hardly about 3 or 4 inches. So the snake is as close as now to the face. So now you say now the snake was landed on his shoulder. So if you have seen Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva has a snake on his around his neck, and it will be sometime taking rest on his shoulder also. This is something like that. Okay, so I think the snake name is Vasuki, but I am not sure, but later we identify. The snake's landing and my turning were simultaneous, almost at the same time. Simultaneously, almost at the same time, as close as they are, the actions are. So as soon as he turned, and then the snake landed on his shoulder. So the snake, his head turning and the snake coming very close to him, landing on his shoulder, were almost simultaneous. As soon as he turned, the snake was there on his shoulder. So you can just imagine it. He wanted to see what is the dull thud. So he just turned, and the snake was landed on the back of the chair, and immediately when he turned his head there, it came onto the shoulder, and when he turned his face, now you see, when he turned his face, and the snake was already there on his shoulder, and it was as close as to his face. Now, I didn't jump, I didn't tremble, I didn't cry out. Now, for example, if you have seen a snake in front of you, what do? You generally say, and then escape from it normally. But it is not in the distance. Or you may also see some snake in the distance, and you can cry out for help. Oh, please come, help me, there is some snake here, please kill it. You may say when it is in the distance. But the snake is now, where is it? It is on the shoulder of the doctor, and it is as close as to his face, and as close as it is about to kiss him. Such a close it is. When you turn here, there is a snake. What do? Do you want to say loudly, please help me? By that time it will kiss how many kisses it wanted. So he don't want to do that. So first, what else? He didn't jump. Sometimes you say, if you have seen something scary, especially like some people scared about frogs, some people scared about cockroaches, some people scared about this lizards in the house normally. If you have seen any cockroach or something, if you are really scared of, you say, "Ah," something big, jump. But he did not jump because there is no time. Snake is there already on his shoulder. And he did not tremble. For example, a lizard fell on your hand. What do? Do you want to talk to the lizard, asking what is your name? No. What is your name? No, no. What do? You just tremble, shake, so that the particular object or particular insect falls down, lizard or something falls down, so that it will get rid out of it. Here the same point. He did not even tremble because there was no time. And I did not cry out. He did not call someone for help. For example, if you have seen your friend very close to any heavy vehicle on the road, and we call, "Look out! Take care!" we shout. Because that is the point where you wanted to alert your friend. Here in this case, he cannot even cry out. He cannot say it loudly. There was no time to do any such thing. This is what the main point is. No time. For example, if you find a little minute or two, or the snake is in the little distance, you could save yourself and trembling yourself, or jumping from the chair, or maybe shouting for some help. It is not possible because the snake was almost as close as it is, and is about to kiss. That means that was about as close as it was. So he cannot do anything. It was asking, "How are you? So far I haven't seen you. What do? Do you want to make a loud cry? Before you make loud cry, it wanted to do what it wanted, right? So there was no time to do any such thing. Right, what else? The snake slithered, slithered. So now what else? It started moving, slithered along my shoulder and coiled around my left arm. So what else? For example, the snake was there on the shoulder and it started moving, crawling. You see how you are sitting on a chair and there was a snake landed on your shoulder and it was creeping on your shoulder and it came to your left arm and coiled around your left arm. Coil means, you might understand, like a mosquito coil, it is round and round and round. Like that, the snake came and coiled around his left arm. That means it encircled all his left arm above the elbow. That means your bicep and tricep area. So this particular area where the snake had coiled and held its grip and rested its head and spread its hood and as close as to his face. So that is the situation now where the doctor is facing. And above the elbow, right? The hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches from my face. Now what did he say? Now the hood was spread out. I think you might know, when the snake was just moving, it was keeping its hood close and it is like a normal head to identify. But whenever it is getting angry, aggressive, I think in an Indian context of understanding, cobras we understand, like a black cobra or maybe white cobra and all. These cobras are very, very sensitive and very active snakes and very deadly poisonous snakes. Even rattlesnake and other snakes and all. This snake generally what else, whenever they see some danger and they will spread their hood. So at their head there will be extended skin. They will be spreading like a shape, like this my arm shape like that. So this is nothing but called a hood. In the normal case, it will be like a closed position. When it is aggressive, it opens its skin and hissing and showing its aggressiveness and giving a caution, be careful if you come closer, and I wanted to kill you. So that is what the signal it wanted to do. So now what else? The snake was as close. How much close it was? It took the grip of the arm and it landed on the shoulder and it came very close to the face. How is it? It just 3 or 4 inches. Inch means, you see, you have a line on your finger. This is what generally we call 1 inch. And on your finger, there are 3 lines. So this may be 1, 2, 3 inches. So your finger length, hardly. So just like that, how much length it is? Your finger length, for example, almost close right here. If you open your tongue, you can taste the other tongue of the snake. Such close that was. So this particular point of time, either you or me or anyone else being on the particular situation cannot make any noise and cannot tremble or maybe a superheroes only can take and they give a kiss and leave it for its own fate. But in the normal case, it's not happening. For example, if the snake is there and down something keep going on, but we cannot mention all of them. Anyhow, this is the particular reading comprehension for today. I would like to recapitulate once again for you all. And now we have seen in the earlier session there was no noise, but here suddenly there was a dull thud came. He wanted to turn around and wanted to see what is the sound, and he felt it is like a sound of a rubber tube falling onto the ground. But whenever he has a thought, of course, need not to worry, it's a regular one because this mouse keep moving in the rats moving in the house that maybe fell to the ground. He thought. But ultimately, what else? There was a fat snake who was landed on his back of a chair and completely took over the shoulder, and then the snake again took a walk or maybe wriggled or slithered on his shoulder and came onto the left side, and it has coiled around the left arm above the elbow, and then it spread its wood and hissing at 3 or 4 inches of the distance. So now I had a question for you, my dear students. Why did the narrator sat without any movement? For example, we are coming in the upcoming lines. He sat like a stone. We are going to discuss in the upcoming lines. So he sat like a stone. Why did the doctor sit like a stone? You keep thinking for your answers. In the upcoming sessions, we may get the answer for that. Right? Thank you very much, children. You practice your culture handwriting more thoroughly.